how certain guys are getting UFC championship fights and how certain guys aren't. And that's not just because of their style of fighting, that's because of their brands and their social media followings, and that's all a part of the business.
But was the goal always to get towards the managing the business side of things?
I wanted to open my own gym and train. I saw how the business side works and how guys were treated, and yelling from outside a castle doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And if you want real change, you got to change it from the inside. And that's what I figured. I'm the best to change it, the way I like it, the way I'd want it. I'm not in it for the money. I have no interest in doing this business to make money. I'm doing this because I want to help guys that need my help. You got to be able to stand on your own principles. And if your intention is to help the person in the end, then what you choose and where they go usually works out.
All right, welcome back to Rear Naked Truth. We are here today with ex-fighter, current manager, current coach or past coach? Are we still coaching?
Still dabble in coaching, but majority of it is just to help out anybody that needs it.
Yeah. Randy Caruso. I wanted to throw in, I can't believe I didn't know this about you. Your old fight nickname, Randy Fist Bump Caruso. Can we just start with a quick origins on where the hell that came from?
So, it was a joke because Jersey Shore just came out right when I had a fight scheduled. Jersey Shore came out and they cut their first promo on MTV,
Mhm.
and I think it was that Vinny,
Mhm.
and in the promo he goes fist pumping like champs, and he's doing that, and so so as soon as everybody heard that, they're like, "Oh, that's you," and so they start calling me fist pump, and somehow
It's stuck, unfortunately.
it stuck. I didn't care about it. I didn't care. I thought it was funny, but
I kind of like Randy GTL, Gym Tan Laundry.
yeah,
That
yeah,
would have been cool too.
I was okay with doing whatever. They can. I was an asshole, with
I can relate to that.
yeah. I can take it. I can take it.
I appreciate you coming in, brother.
I appreciate being here.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that I want to talk about today. I feel like we're in this kind of pivotal moment within the MMA community these days, especially with the whole CBS announcement, all of the pay-per-views going away, going to Paramount. So I want to get a little bit of your take on that. But mostly, man, you got a degree in sports management, right?
I do.
What college did you go to again?
I went to Metropolitan State University of Denver.
But you're from Cleveland.
I am,
Or
but
s-
I've been away since I joined the military at 18,
Mhm.
42 now. So I've been away from Ohio for a long time, and I went back to school in my 30s because of the military paid for it, and
Mhm.
I awkwardly sat through class with a bunch of 18-year-olds
Well,
and did my degree, and it's pretty easy,
luckily you got a baby face though. You probably didn't look like you
Yeah.
didn't belong. I know that, you obviously had a fight career. You were with Mark for a bit. He was training you for a while, right?
Yeah.
And then but that all kind of started basically when you were doing, what's it called? Fight combat competition, or what is that called in the military?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was called combatives.
Combatives,
And
yeah.
I started in that in 05, 04-ish, and wrestled and fought all my life,
Yeah.
and then got into that, and then started training after the military.
And then I know that you were doing, the game plan and the video breakdowns for Mark for a long time, but was the goal always to get towards the managing the business side of things?
It was I mean, not originally. Originally, I wanted to open my own gym and train, and
Mhm.
I wanted to be a coach for life. Uh, but I saw how the business side works and how guys were treated, and yelling from outside a castle doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You have to get inside, and if you want real change, you got to change it from the inside, and that's what I figured. I'm the best to change it, the way I like it, the way I'd want it, and so I pursued it, and
But fighting and combat was the only sport you wanted to potentially get into management and coaching of?
I did. That's really the only sport that I feel like I can give an insider's perspective.
Mhm.
And if I went up to a football player and said, you need to do this for your career, a football player should look at me and say, you haven't experienced that,
Yeah.
right? So I want that mutual respect and understanding from people that I'm telling how to, run their careers.
Similarly, on that same train of thought, then, do you think that somebody who manages a baseball player or a basketball player would have is it the same type of job as managing a fighter, or are they completely different in the
I,
practice of it?
I don't think there's a blanket, fit for anything because you can have zero experience whatsoever and be a great businessman
Mhm.
and succeed. You can never step foot in the cage and tell me exactly how to run my career, and you can be great at it.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, because I don't have the experience of a businessman and 30 years of running a business and doing all that, I have the experience of fighters. So I have to lean on what I'm good at.
Mhm.
I'm good at relating. I'm good at saying, "Hey, this has worked for me. This is what I think you should do." But it's completely your decision. So instead of telling people what to do, I relate to them, and then they let them choose.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it allows guys to have more ownership in their decisions.
I feel like fighting and boxing and any combat sport for that matter is so nuanced from the way that from the standpoint of like fighter trajectory, athlete longevity. Do you find that when you're getting into the upfront of a career with an athlete, is talking about their goals, like what they want to do in the long term, something that is a part of the conversation in the very beginning?
It's definitely a part of it because if your goal, obviously, everything is goal based,
Hmm.
goal oriented. If you came to me and said my goal is to make as much money as possible, right? Uh, I would look at it and direct you differently because your goal isn't to get a world championship to make it to the highest level. Your goal is to build your brand, make money, and that means doing whatever you can uh, in the process. So,
Yeah.
if your goal is to make as much money as possible, I'm gonna steer you differently. If your goal is I want to be UFC world champion one day. Okay, I know exactly how long that process is, so I'm gonna start steering you towards that direction. Now, with that goal, obviously there's not a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of
At
heartache, and
first.
yeah, there's a lot of heartache. There's no guarantees. So that is the stuff that I want to reiterate. If this is your goal, it's going to be a long road.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm upfront. If you want money right now, I bet I'll tell them. Like it's going to be hard. And this is, I believe that it's not a. If you look to me to make you rich, that's not going to work. That's a high expectation, not just for me, but for you. And I want to explain that in the beginning and let it be known, like I can teach you how to build your own brands and you can do it on your own. But if you're expecting me to do all of this and get you there, that's a high expectation. I'm gonna disappoint you if do that. I can do my best. I can
Yeah.
try my best. But if you have that expectation out the gate, then no matter what I do, it might not be enough for you.
Yeah.
So it's being truthful in the beginning is most important.
It seems like being honest is got to be at the forefront of your entire
100%.
business model.
100%. It's always honesty and keeping expectations real and uh limiting I don't know, fairy tale mindset that if you
You're not
you
everybody's not going to become Conor McGregor.
right,
Yeah.
right, and you do everything right and everything should work out. That's the typical sports mindset is if I work hard, I check all these boxes, at the end of it, I will achieve my goal. And you can do all that in fighting
Hmm.
and it still can't happen.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a hard pill to swallow. And telling somebody that's 10-0, telling some kid that's 10-0, yeah, hey, UFC doesn't want you. Right. If you did everything you were supposed to do, UFC doesn't want you. That's a reality.
Yeah.
You know? So it's gotta be something that has to be has to be known. And usually what happens in that situation is they blame the manager.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not doing your job. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And in reality, it's not the manager. It's it could just be the UFC doesn't like you. They do, and maybe you're not finisher, you're not exciting, whatever the case may be. But it sucks because, you did everything you're supposed to do
Yeah.
and you still, can't reach the highest level. And even when you do reach the highest level, maybe you make it and then they throw you to the wolves. They throw you to guys that you shouldn't be fighting, at that time or that stage in your career. And it's a short lived.
You talked
Yeah,
you mentioned a lot of things that I wanna kinda double click into. The first one being, and we talked about this on the last episode with, Camosi, um, brand building, right? How much, just for the sake of the conversation from a percentage standpoint, is what you do related to the building or the development of a fighter's brand, which is obviously as important as, your tactical practice in fighting today?
correct. Yeah. So we can see it today just with how certain guys are getting UFC championship fights and how certain guys aren't.
Yeah.
And that's not just because of their style of fighting, that's because of their brands and their social media followings. And that's all a part of the business,
Yeah.
right? So building your brand not only makes you tempting for sponsorships and others to invest in you along the way, but building your brand also creates a following. And the more people with more eyes on you, the more people want to see you fight, want to see you win or lose.
Yeah.
And
I'm confused though as to, from your standpoint, having more of an insight into the business aspect of, not just the UFC, but MMA in general. I I think back to that experiment that the UFC did with the whole CM Punk thing, right? Like, obviously, he was a professional wrestler for the WWE. I guess he had a bit of fight training, came in, he did that, what, 3-fight stint? He got eyes on him, but he was a terrible fighter.
right.
Do you think today the UFC is still willing to take on maybe not people as egregious as him, as it relates to his talent level, but somebody who has a larger brand and less skills? Like, is that still part of their model today?
I don't think, I think, that experiment showed Dana that you can't do that. All
Yeah.
right. You touted this entire brand, UFC, as the top talent in the world. And to let someone come in and just because they're popular, I think it tarnished his words were, and he learned from that. Uh, I think if CM would have came in and was successful, we'd see that. We'd see more of that,
Yeah.
influencers and,
Yeah.
Jake Paul type guys that are 0-0 fighting in the UFC. Uh, because it wasn't a success, I don't think we'll see that. And if we do, it will be in a different organization, not the UFC.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they've tempered the exaggeration of that experiment a bit, but you still see people come in. And this is very different example, but like you get a Raul Rosas Jr. who's 17, you get a Bo Nickel who, was this unbelievable wrestler, but really wasn't tested in the way of MMA. That seems to be working a little bit. I think both of them are at the moment about average fighters, but they're still hitting main cards on every fight that they're on. Do you think that's something we're going to see more people coming in younger with less experience, but they're masters of
Mhm.
a specific discipline within the fight community?
I think somebody like Gabe Stevens, he's doing exactly what he needs to do because he's kind of behind the eight ball starting later. But he's collecting wins quickly, decisively, destroying his opponents, and he's staying active, and he wants to pursue this. So I think you'll see somebody like Gabe Stevens, who has obviously reached the highest levels and has gold medal and everything, and somebody like him could come in with a 4-0, 5-0 record,
Mhm.
and honestly, I see him dominating once he gets in.
Yeah.
I think once he's in,
He's heavyweight, yeah.
he's heavyweight and he's going to be a problem. Guys like that, I think will always be, as long as wrestling is a sport, they'll always have guys like that. Uh,
We're missing wrestlers too in heavyweight. Like they were prevalent for a bit, but Kane's been gone for a while. Uh Curtis Blades is kind of not where he was 3 years ago. I think you think wrestling's coming back into the heavyweight division maybe?
yeah, I think this the new guys that are coming into the sport, if you are seeing the college wrestling, just the first 10 duels of the season so far, There's all the freshmen are upsetting, national champions,
Mhm.
and it's becoming the norm because this next generation is just ridiculous. Blaze making the national team and dominating on the world stage, uh, and he's not even 18 years old. These kids nowadays are just so much more talented, and they have that
Earlier on.
earlier on,
Mhm.
and they have that goal of I'm doing this, and eventually I'm going to go into the UFC,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I think that'll always be, a source for future champions, and they might start later on in their careers, but once they're in, they're going to be dominant.
In that same vein, is there a sense in your line of work, that in comparison to like football or any other professional sport for that matter, where there's a level of recruitment? Is there anything that you guys do to look for fighters, or is it more of like you're reactive and you wait for the fighter to come find you? What is that side of the business like?
No, so we do give NIL contracts out to college wrestlers, and we have a lot on our roster currently. And most of those guys, I would say, more than 50% of them are looking to get into fighting when they're done,
Okay.
right? So some of
That's
them,
a lot.
some of them, they want nothing to do with fighting when they're done. They just want, to be a part of an organization for NIL. But a lot of guys, when they do stop wrestling, that's their next step. And so having a organization that can provide you NIL while you're, in college, and then you do that transition, it's a smooth transition for them.
Mhm.
And obviously, all the contacts that we have as an organization work well for them in their next stage.
Yeah. I wanted to move back to something we were talking about, a Gabe Stevens, a Bo Nickel, a Raul Rosas Jr. I question because I want to dig into the excuse me, I want to dig into the topic from a broader perspective. But is somebody like that who's coming in with a lot of hype because of their skills, or maybe coming in with a lot of hype because of their age? Does somebody like that get stronger negotiating power when it comes to contract?
Yeah. So when you have somebody that has a little bit more years on them, right? That's less time, less squeeze that the UFC can use them.
Hmm.
So, they're gonna feed them to harder and tougher competition out the gate,
Okay.
right? So somebody like Gabe Stevens, if he came in the UFC, let's just say he's 5-0 and he got called to the UFC. He's not gonna have no fluff fights, right? So he'll probably be on his first contract and then start fighting the top 10 guys
Like a
afterwards.
Pajeda, for instance.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So he's not gonna get, and because of his age and his experience, that'd be totally okay. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And that is with what he's done in the past, along with how dominant he is so far, he'd get shot to the front of the line. And nobody should have a problem with that because just because he doesn't have the fighting experience, he's dominated in wrestling. So, to see him making 500,000 after, 2 fights. I mean, that
You
would
think that's realistic?
I think that's a good possibility of
Wow.
him making that, you know what I mean?
That's exciting and a little surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and people would think that's not fair, but his skills and his, experience,
His pedigree,
his
right?
pedigree,
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically you have to give it to his pedigree. Just because he hasn't been punching people, he's been competing on the world stage and dominating. So, somebody like that, I would have I mean, you would expect it,
Really.
basically, yeah.
Why do you think this is a loaded question, and answer it as far as you can, without crossing any business barriers? But why do you think, unlike almost virtually every other professional athletic, fighting in general, and I won't even just like, because boxing is a little bit more transparent, but mixed martial arts is so, there's such a cloak around salaries, around, sponsorship pay and things of that nature. Why is that so tight-lipped within MMA?
I don't know if it's tight-lipped, but I mean, because a lot of it is well known and fighters always talk about it,
In the community, though, I mean, to the general
it's in
public.
the general public, yeah. I guess, the way the UFC looks at it is this is a private organization. If you wanna be a part of our private organization, you're gonna follow our rules. if you don't like our rules, you don't have to come to our organization,
Mhm.
right? And as shitty as that may seem to people, it's the truth, right? And so they're saying, we want this tight-lipped. We're going to give you these sponsorships, and you can't, bring your other sponsorships with you. Uh, if you don't like that, you don't have to come to our organization, right? So you're basically conceding the fact that, okay, I can't have this sponsorship on my shorts. I can't represent them while I'm in the UFC because I'm a part of the UFC. So you're fighting at the highest level against the best guys in the world. They're saying you have to show this particular sponsor and no others, and we're going to pay you this amount based off of how much experience you've had in the cage. And if you're okay with this, this is the price. If you're not okay with this, decline it, and you can fight somewhere else, and they can pay you.
Do you think that's ever gonna change? Not the sponsorship part, but where well, for instance, like, pay-per-views, right? Like, the entire the release of the actual number of pay-per-views on a numbered event is still, like, estimated, right? They never truly release that to the general public. Do you think we're ever gonna have more transparency into, viewership, like, outside of YouTube? Because Dana talks about, like, the views that he gets on YouTube and shit like that, but,
Mhm.
into viewership and into fighter contracts and salaries ever in the future?
I mean, I'm not gonna say never because who knows, what could happen in the future. But I don't think if 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 I'm Dana and this is my organization, I'm the CEO of the UFC. Why do I have to give any information out? Uh, you know, who who is telling me that how to run my organization, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at the same time, I mean, I get why people want it. People want transparency. People want it all. But at the end of the day, it's their business. It's a private business. It's not government ran. And I think a lot of times we get into this notion that uh, this entity owes us an explanation, and this entity owes us transparency. But in reality, they don't. Uh, this is their own corporation, their own business. If they choose to do that, then that's great. They're being upfront, they're being transparent, and everyone is in the know. But in reality, they don't have to.
Do do you have an opinion one way or the other?
I would love to have those numbers because that's great for negotiating, right? Somebody in a manager position would love to have the numbers that, hey, this guy brings in 10 million views. Okay, so next time we're going to ask for a lot more money.
You can
Uh,
evaluate yourself
right,
back.
right, right. So I would love that from my standpoint, but I understand from their standpoint why they don't need to. You know, they'll say, hey, he did good.
Mhm.
We're going to give you a raise.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's 10 million or if that means, 1 million,
Yeah.
right? I have no clue what those numbers are. And I'm sure there's people that do know the actual numbers. And, the head of my management was probably one of them. He probably knows those exact numbers. But me personally being lower on the totem pole, I don't have those figures. So I have to rely on others.
On your guys' current roster, you're at, like, over 300 different, athletes, right?
Yes.
Is that how does that stack up into or in relation to any other management company within the combat community?
By far. There's no, the The difference between number 1 and number 2 is a huge, huge drop off. It's not even close. Uh, we have over 100, in the UFC on the roster currently, and there's 350 total in the
Mhm.
UFC. Uh,
We're speaking about Iridium now.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think number 2 has probably 30 or 40.
Do you think there's well, here, let me phrase the question this way. What are the pros and cons of having more or less athletes on the roster?
The pros are definitely, they're great because of the relationship that our firm has created with the UFC and with all the other combat, sports organizations. Having that many athletes makes them come to you,
Mhm.
right? Because you have the talent. So they're always willing to come out and reach out to you directly and first, and you know, you get communication lines open quickly because of that. The negative is obviously with that many heads, that many mouths to feed, a lot of guys, they want a lot of attention, and the attention has to be directed, as needed instead of as a whole. So at the same time, attention isn't always there, and sometimes it's lacking, but we have a whole entire team to try to pick up on those. So other guys are reaching out to them. Other guys are trying to get sponsorships and marketing and all those things, brand building. That's their job. And so maybe you don't speak with the agent on a daily, but somebody in the organization definitely reaches out.
Okay.
You know, what I mean, so uh, if guys want an agent at their bidding 24/7, it's definitely, it's not a good fit.
Generally, or just for Iridium in particular?
Well, I mean, I don't know any management companies that are like that, but small time managers that have one or two guys, obviously they can give 100% of their time to that fighter, and some guys, they want that. They want 100%.
Mhm.
All right, and don't try to manage other people. I want you. I want your full attention, and that's totally fine. When guys want that, obviously you don't want to go to a big firm like that. The negative is maybe that guy doesn't have the same pull as a large firm does.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's a give and take. You're gonna have all this attention. Maybe he doesn't get the favors, right? And he doesn't have the open lines of communication. With the other way, you have the open lines of communication constantly, but maybe you're not going to get full time attention.
Mhm.
It's not like they forget about you. We don't forget about them. It's just you're not constantly bothering them every day, and they're not at your beckoning call every minute of the day.
How what's the level of inclusion of a fighter in the midst of a couple of things, the matchmaking process between you guys and, the Hunter and the Sean of the world, and then also from the standpoint of the negotiation process? Or is that something you do exclusively between UFC or PFL or whatever brass, and the fighter is then excluded from all of that? Like, is there conversations that the fighter is included in, or is that gone completely through you guys?
No, no. So, the way that we try to do it is because we have agents, we have multiple agents in Iridium. Uh, Instead of all of us reaching out to the same organization and bothering them, pushing the same guys or the
Mhm.
same names, and it just makes the organization kind of resent us for constantly bothering them.
Yeah.
We have one point of contact basically for each organization. So obviously Jason is the head guy and he deals with the UFC directly. So Jason is the point of contact for the UFC. He does all the talking and negotiating. So when a matchup comes, he speaks with the matchmakers. Matchup comes, he'll present it to the agent, the fighter, and the coach.
Okay.
Right, and so he lets them decide on it. uh, you know, Everybody gets together, they talk, they watch video, they, you know, they look at the matchup basically and decide. Then a lot of guys, they want to know about money, they want to know about travel, they want to know all the other stuff, and that's kind of where I come in, where I I try to communicate all the things that don't really matter.
Mhm.
I try to ease
They matter,
what
logistics, yeah.
right, the logistics, right? But the main thing is, do you like this matchup? Do you like this fight?
Mhm.
Do you want to accept this fight? Yes or no? Right? And if those are all yes, then all the other stuff doesn't matter, right? If that's no, then you don't need to worry about all of
Yeah.
stuff, right? So the number one question is, do you like the fight? Uh, once that's established, then I can get all the information presented to them and ease their mind with all the other logistic stuff. But nothing is done on our own. If there's a matchup, we're not sitting there saying, yes, we're going to take this fight, and the fighter doesn't know. I'm not going to just explain it to the coach, and then the coach tells the fighter. Some coaches, they want to be told first.
That was my next question, is what's the interaction like with coaches?
So that's got to be on a personal or on a one by one basis,
Like
right?
gym by gym?
Gym by gym, fighter by fighter, coach by coach. Some guys, they want to be told everything.
Okay.
They want to be in the loop for everything. I want to know exactly every matchup. I want to know when my name is even mentioned, right? Some guys say yes to everything. They're just like, I want to fight. That's
Yep.
what I do. Uh, so if you tell them, it's always going to be yes.
Yeah.
So you need a mediary to basically tell him like this isn't a good fight business wise, or you haven't been training, you're not in shape,
Mm-hmm.
you can't accept this fight, right? So that's why we use a coach in that position to help, limit what fighters do.
Yeah.
So it's got to be based off of each individual and communicating. Communicating is the key. And obviously you don't want to leave anything out. You're never leaving anybody in the dark with anything. If you got mentioned for a fight with the UFC right now,
That would be great.
and you haven't been training, right?
I haven't
Let's
though.
say you haven't been training, you're injured, you haven't stepped foot in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I called you and I said, "Hey, this fight got offered for the UFC in 5 days notice. What do you think?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm in." Right? So just because you say I'm in doesn't mean I'm going to be like, "Okay, let's accept."
Yeah.
Right? So even if I just told you by yourself, now I'm going to reach out to your coach and say, "Hey, Mike got offered this fight on 5 days notice against this guy. What do you think?" Well, he hasn't been training. He hasn't done anything. I don't think it's a good idea. And so then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to put this on a group
Mm-hmm.
and I'll say, okay, hey, you know, this offer is on the table. What do you guys think together? And usually the coach will explain to him, like, I don't think this is a good idea. And then the fighter will be like, okay, yeah, you're right. And, it comes to terms. Sometimes fighters like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I want this. And that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going against his coach's decision, but it's ultimately his face getting punched.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like I'm keeping anything from any of them. It's all open communication. I'm letting them sort out the facts and then decide. So whatever they decide, that's my job is to make it happen. But I'm not limiting any of the information in the process.
I mean, if I'm reading what you're saying or listening to what you're saying correctly, it seems as though fight to fight, contract to contract, everything is incredibly nuanced. But would you say that there's an average time from a fight being offered and then being accepted? What is that turnaround time typically like, or is there no standard to it?
So there's a lot, in the major organizations, they don't like to wait. Obviously, they get pissed off, and if you take forever to respond or to decide, they're going to move on from you. So if you have a large organization like the UFC, usually they'll give you a couple days to
Oh, I was going to say
decide.
a couple weeks.
Sometimes if it's like a main event or if it's a big fight,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they'll give you more than a week or two. But they're trying to set up these cards way in advance. So they can start promoting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're taking forever, that's just prolonging them promoting, the card and the fights. So the longer you take, the more they're just gonna say, okay, screw it, we'll find somebody else. If you're on a lower card, a lot of them, they want obviously they all want it immediately,
Yeah.
but they're willing to wait if there is a reason. Say, hey, this guy is scheduled to fight next week. Uh, you want us to fight on this card in 3 months. We'll give you an answer after his fight,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they're willing to wait a week or two until see if he's healthy, see if he's ready. Okay, they'll wait. But like UFC, they're not gonna work.
Yeah.
They have like huge marketing machine waiting, and so they're not gonna cost themselves all that money that they could make in marketing and promoting the fight.
Some of the fighters you manage, are also some friends of ours as well. And it seems like, when they tell us that they got a fight offered, it almost seems as though it comes to, fruition within a matter of days, like you said. Has there been a lot of time and discussions before that, or can it really come together within a course of a week?
I've seen it come in 24 hours. Hey, get on a flight, tomorrow.
Hmm.
You're fighting.
Jesus.
You're fighting in Abu Dhabi, or this offer is available. If you want it, you got get on a plane tomorrow and fly to Abu Dhabi or fly to Vegas or fly wherever, right?
Does that sort of detail warrant, obviously, then different uh, factors as it relates to pay?
Yes, definitely. So if you're willing, the UFC is very good at remembering if you did a favor for one,
Hmm.
right? So most of the time, I'm not gonna say
And if you didn't, for that matter,
right,
Armin
right.
Saryukin.
If you didn't and if you did, right? So if they had a fallout on short notice and they reached out to you and you're not in your best condition and you're not 100%. You're probably going to go out there and take an L, right? It's written on the board. Uh the UFC will definitely they'll hook you up either in money or with keeping you busy or whatever that may case, whatever that entails.
Hmm.
They usually don't forget in that instance. The same thing goes where if you're constantly begging for a fight, constantly begging for a fight, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. And then they have that same instance and they reach out to you and you say, no, I'm not going to go out there.
Hmm.
They remember,
Yeah.
right? So, uh, it works both ways. That's why, staying ready so you don't have to be ready is, everybody says that as a fighter. It's huge. It really is because, you never know when they're going to call. You never know when those things pop up. So if you're constantly ready, it's best.
Dana's publicly said time and time again that they offer fighters 3 fights every year. Is that absolutely certain? Like that truly happens?
Most of the time they do, and if they don't, so now they have a practice where if they offer you and you decline because you're injured, you decline because you're not ready, you get a letter
Hmm.
that says, "Hey, we offered you," and you have to sign it, and it just shows that they did their part in offering you a position or offering you an opportunity, and just because you said no. Then it's not a retaliatory kind of thing, but it's just to let you know, like we did our part.
Hmm.
Whether you accept it or not, that's your choice, right? But we did our part in offering.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe I mean most of the guys on the roster, they get offered consistently like that. I I don't know about a lot of guys that take these long breaks. I don't know if they get their offers or if it's because they've said, "Hey, I'm off for 9 months," and so they don't get constant offers. Uh, some guys they're injured and like a knee or ACL, it takes a year, so they take a long time. So I don't know if they're getting offers during that time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's based off of how long your recovery is, and if you say, "Hey, I'm going to be out for a while," or I'm going to focus on family and step away from fighting for a while. I don't think those guys are getting offers every quarter, like the rest of us.
Like, I think of 2 fighters in particular on both sides of the spectrums as it relates to fighter activity. Thinking about a guy like a Colby Covington, who has kind of notoriously fought once a year, I think, for the last 5 years straight, versus a guy like Kevin Holland, who I believe has the record for the most fights within an 18-month period as well.
Mhm.
Do you think that that level of activity from a positive and negative standpoint, right? Like inactivity or activity, uh, that can hurt or help the fighter?
Uh, I mean, obviously, being active, this is a hard sport and fighting, multiple times a year, is obviously going to do damage on the body, brain,
Mhm.
the weight cut, all that stuff. It's definitely going to deplete the fighter. Maybe his overall skill level will decrease. The damage, obviously, he sustains. It's all negative, right? And it catches up to you eventually. Even if it doesn't at that time, eventually you're not gonna be able to do that
Mhm.
for a long time. Uh, the positive with that is your brand. Your brand builds. You're in the spotlight. Uh, it can definitely help you financially,
Yeah.
right? Financially, obviously, you're fighting. You're staying active. You're making money, and you're in the business's eyes for sponsorships. You're throwing your name out there. Your brand is getting bigger and bigger, so it helps your brands. Uh, if you're winning, obviously, it's going to help your stock and your brand as well, and your pocket. Uh, I mean, it's a trade off of if you're active, maybe the product decreases. Maybe you get lucky and it doesn't decrease, but eventually it will.
Mhm.
But staying active, I think, is it overall is great, uh, as long as the product doesn't decrease. Staying inactive and fighting once a year or once every 2 years.
Even if your fights they do fairly well once a year?
I mean, you have to. I think you already put in the brand building
Mhm.
prior to that. If if nobody knew who I was as a fighter, and then I'm fighting once a year, my brand is never going to grow,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know how they'd forget you with a nickname like Fist Bump. They know exactly who
So
Randy Fist Bump Caruso
so
is.
so basically, I think somebody like Colby, who's already built his brand as a loudmouth
Mhm.
and all that, he's already established his brand, and so he has the ability to fight once a year. It's not really needed out of him. If you need a sponsor, he can get a sponsor. Uh, so somebody like that, Mayweather, you look at all these top level fighters, they can afford to do the once in a year,
Yeah.
or, once every couple of years because their brand is already established. But somebody that's building their brand, I definitely think staying as active as possible is the best way, and then slowing it down later on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I From a fan perspective, there's this thing that, we always hear and talk about, recency bias, right? It seems as though all anybody, and maybe just casual fans, but all anybody wants to talk about is who's the hottest thing now or who's the most exciting thing lately. Do you think there's recency bias from the organization's perspective?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. So recently we have Islam. Islam is the 170 champ,
Two-weight guy, two-weight
two
champ.
two-way champ. Obviously had to let go of the 55, but somebody like right now that everyone's saying he's the greatest, he's the greatest, he's the greatest. But I think that's recency bias
Mhm.
because obviously he hasn't gone against one of the greatest welterweights of all time. So in the UFC's eyes, I think they would, if GSP was still active, that would be a fight that I guarantee that they would make as a passing of the torch.
Mhm.
Obviously, greatest of all time against this new. They want the new guy to win, right? Because they want it to be like a passing of the torch. Obviously, GSP isn't available anymore. He's retired and rode off in the sunset. But they promote the recency.
Mhm.
They want that the new guys to take over, and so that kind of uh, the fans were like, GSP's the greatest. He beat Islam just like Michael Jordan with
Yeah, yeah.
LeBron. Everyone has their own person now, that they love, and they say they're the greatest. And ideally, in fighting, you want those. You can set those up
Mhm.
because that's something that is possible in fighting. In basketball and football, Joe Namath can't go against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, LeBron and Michael, they had 1 or 2 years together, and Michael was
At
40,
the end of his
4 years,
career, yeah.
yeah. So that's a great thing. And in those team sports, it's not really a one-on-one thing, but in fighting, you have the opportunity to go one-on-one against the so-called greatest, against the new greatest. Let's see who's the best. And even if he is old, you know, and this guy's, young and hot,
Mhm.
they want that. They want that recency, and they want to show everybody like, it's like Rocky Marciano with Joe Louis,
Yeah.
right? Rocky Marciano was a new guy knocking everybody out. Joe Louis was 10-year world champ, dominated, and then Joe Louis needed money, right? And then
Yeah.
they fought, and Rocky destroyed him, right?
Mhm.
But yes, he was old when they fought. He
Yeah.
was past his prime. But that's combat sports. They always look for that kind of thing. So do I believe that the UFC, favors recency? 100%. Everything in combat sports or combat sports does.
In that same train of thought then, and this is more of an opinion question, right? I mean, maybe we could dig into the organization's perspective on it, but do you prefer this current model where we see a lot of champions, regardless of the weight division, win the belt, maybe defend it once or twice, and then move up and try to chase gold? Or do you miss the days of GSP, of Anderson, of a BJ Penn, although he did go up obviously to several divisions where people defended and just cleaned out divisions? What's your take on that?
I think you're not really a champ unless you defend it at least once. So guys like Connor, I don't see them as all-time greats because they never defend, right?
Mhm.
So, I do kind of, in my own opinion, I do believe you need to clear out all the
Contender.
contenders before you move up. Somebody like Demetrius Johnson, he's the gold in my eyes.
In a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, and I know John Jones. Those guys, they did the Anderson, GSP. These guys, they cleaned out the division. With Matt Hughes, they dominated every contender, every up and comer. It's so hard to defend the top of the hill than it is to be on attack.
So it's harder to keep the belt than get the belt.
Yes,
I mean, that's something everybody seems to agree about.
it's 100%. It's so much harder because it's like Marvin Hagler said, waking up at 5 a.m. to do road work on satin sheets,
Mhm.
on silk sheets. I think,
Yeah.
that's the downfall of every champ, right?
Mhm.
You've made it. It's easy to relax.
Being a hunter is easier than being the prey.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, I think that's also why guys go and attack other divisions because it's easier for them, right? This is what they've known their entire career: attack, 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 attack. I'm going to the top. Now I make it to the top. I'm gonna go to another mountain,
Yeah.
right? Mentally, I understand it. From business side, I don't agree with it. I think you need to sit on the top and defend,
Mhm.
and then if you wiped out everybody, then you go to the next level, and that just shows your greatness. Just because you go from one mountain to the next doesn't mean that you're the greatest, right?
Yeah.
I think it's almost easier,
Mhm.
right? Because doing it constantly, all these killers that are young and hungry and chasing the top, uh, turning them away is just so hard, so hard.
I I have such a, you know, like, nerve reaction to people like Ilya who, was on the come up in 145, the absolute killer of that division, then goes up and gets the 155 belt. And now it seems as though, pending his personal issues, right? Like he already wants to go up to 170 and get that belt. I just, is it possible that despite the greatness it takes to achieve those things, that could maybe tarnish a legacy? Because there's, in every division I just named, right? There's so many killers that you could try to,
Yeah,
hold your throne away from.
yeah. I I I actually I like what Pantoja said. I'm not moving up, right? And
Marab a little too.
Marab also like they're saying I'm gonna defend this and I'm gonna defend it multiple times,
Mhm.
right? And so they're taking the stance that I agree with. Uh, what Ilya's doing, I mean, I think that's totally a mental thing. It's just a mental thing where he needs to challenge. He needs to put a goal in place, and Volkanovski did it as well, right?
But he also went back down, and I loved that he did that too,
Right,
and
right.
Max as well.
And so all these guys, I really believe it's a mental challenge, and it's that hunter mentality where I'm gonna go and try to reach this next mountain, and so I'm the hunter. And once you have that, I'm not a hunter anymore.
Mhm.
I'm a defender. A lot of guys, they lose their edge, and they know that they're not the same, so they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They'd rather be a hunter. So I understand mentally why guys do it. Obviously I don't agree with it, but it could for his legacy. He can always say if he goes up to 170 and he beats Islam, he could say I'm 3 division champ. Never has that happened before, and that's a huge ego thing. Huge for his legacy. But to the casual, it would look amazing and impressive.
Mhm.
For somebody that is in the business and has done it for years, I think it's more impressive to defend, multiple times and dominate.
I have this question popped into my head, and I just think it'd be really good to get your response to it. Who and it's going in down a train of thought here. Who is your favorite fighter of all time?
So my favorite fighter all time is Frankie Edgar.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Frankie Edgar has always been my favorite. He's Italian,
Savage.
and his heart is what stands out from any other fighter. Uh, I
Just
absolutely,
lost a wrestling match to Chandler
I know.
in Chicago. Kelly and I were gonna go, but the tickets were like $100 or something. Oh, that too. There was a blizzard.
So I remember watching him on MTV a long time ago. It was like my I don't know, some MTV show, My Life.
Wasn't it called My Life?
I think is
Yeah, just My
something like
Life.
My Life. Yeah, My Life as an MMA fighter,
Mhm.
and he was just starting off, and I remember him cutting weight, something like that for a fight, and it was his first or second pro fight, and I remember like I was in that same exact position as him,
Mhm.
and because I was just starting myself, and I remember I liked him, and I wanted to go to Jersey and train with him. Like that was my whole goal was to eventually get to Jersey. I was in the military at the time, but yeah, I remember him from a long time ago. And then I saw him in the UFC, and he's fighting, Gray Maynard, and the trilogy with Maynard was amazing and showed who he really was.
Mhm.
And then the BJ Penn fights, and my fandom just went out of, crazy. It's like I just want to train with them, just want to train with them, just want to meet him, and he seems like exactly like me. And I watch his podcast now, and this I love everything about it. He actually fought Chris Gutierrez, and I was heartbroken after the
Yeah.
fight. Like I did not want him to go out like that, but I mean that's the business. It
Did you
happens.
have to you didn't corner Chris, did
No, I didn't corner him. I didn't want to corner him.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I witnessed that, and it was somebody like me. I didn't want to be a part of it.
Mhm.
I don't want to go and high five Chris after. Like
Yeah.
he had to do what he had to do, and I understand that. But as a fan, I was hurt.
Who's your least favorite fighter of all time?
Least favorite. I
And maybe we'll make it a past fighter so it doesn't hurt current business.
don't. No, I think I don't know. I just don't like loudmouths. I don't really like. I don't like guys that use media and social media and are fake of what the fight business is. It's a fight. It's one guy versus another. You're testing your skills and will against him. That's pure,
Yeah.
right?
There's no lying in the cage.
There's no lying, and it's real. It's as real as it gets. I don't like fake fighters, guys that portray a tough guy and then they're not, or guys that portray this social media presence or whatever outside the cage, and then that's not really them.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't really have. I mean, I got one name off the top of my head, obviously Colby, but uh, guys like that, I just don't understand them. Just be you. I know, his reasoning in the beginning was to create a storm behind his name so he can get more flights and
Mhm.
get a following. I understand why he did it. I don't agree with it though, and I don't like it. I think this should be a merit sport where the guy with the best skills should be fighting for the title, and there's a reason why you have this goal to make it to the top, and it's so frustrating to do everything correctly, hone your skills, be the best, have win after win after win, and then you don't get your chance to fight for the belt because somebody else has more social media followers, right? Or, he has more eyes on him. He's hot, popular. That guy gets the call.
Are you saying then that it sounds like maybe you're saying that, in UFC in particular, it's not a meritocracy-based organization anymore?
I mean, I don't want to broad stroke it and say it's not anymore because it definitely is. But I think that, it's that recency bias as well. You have to strike when the iron's hot, and maybe the iron's not hot on this particular product prospect that wants to fight for a belt and has you know done everything correctly. Uh, somebody like in 45 division,
Um,
best I forgot his name,
the wrestler in 145.
undefeated Russian.
Who the hell? Mozart?
Mozart.
Yeah.
So somebody like Mozart who's done everything right, you know,
Gets passed on a lot, it
gets
seems
past
like.
gets past a lot. I think somebody like him, you know, him not changing who he is, I respect the hell out of it.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm not gonna go on and make stupid videos and show social media and create this, following just to get a title shot. This is who I am. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I deserve a fight for the belt. And I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally okay with that. Uh, will it happen? Who knows, right? I mean, eventually, I hope it happens because he definitely deserves it. But uh, in the end, he's not changing who he is.
Yeah.
Uh, guys that do change, because they do want that, and they're gonna get passed over, and they change who they are. It's okay, but don't get lost in that.
Yeah.
It's like uh, changing who you are just to get the shot, and then you start to believe this crazy idea of what you created.
Yeah.
That's why I believe Kobe thinks he's that persona.
It seems like there's this sort of trifecta in the sport wherein if you're not a master of your craft, right? And like so you have a good brand, you can get the fights. Or similarly, if you don't have a very good brand presence, but you are a Khabib, your talent and your, domination is going to bring you to the top. And then occasionally you get an Ilya or you get an Islam or you get a Connor who has all of these things all at once.
Yeah,
When you're not in either of those, buckets, it seems as though you can kind of get lost. And maybe that's what he's in right now.
I agree. I agree.
Because he's undefeated, but right, he doesn't completely dominate people.
Correct. Uh, yeah, it's not. I wish there was a simple answer for it. There really isn't. It's a base by base, fighter by fighter situation, and it. I'm hoping that it all works out eventually. It's just a timing thing, at this point in time where we see all of these unfair guys getting skipped over. But eventually, it might all happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not happening at this moment and everyone's up in arms about it. But it's the fight business. If you want to fight, eventually somebody will say yes, right?
Yeah.
It's eventually going to happen. So, uh, I didn't agree with Moreno Pantoja fighting 20 times,
Yeah. But they were all banger
they
fights.
were. And so I didn't agree with that, but because it left all the prospects on hold for so long. Uh, but at that time, these prospects weren't standing out, and this was or not Pantoja, Figueredo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. But
Fig
they also fought a couple times too.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So, all those fights were so good, and I understand the reason why the rematches were needed and this and that, but it hurt the prospects, but the prospects didn't do anything to make them stand out. And eventually, all those prospects ended up fighting,
Mhm.
and they all went down against Pantoja, right? So it worked out eventually, but at the time, everyone was pissed. Everyone was upset, up in arms. Why is this guy fighting again? Yeah, it was a great fight, but what about these guys? Uh, so at the time, everyone's up in arms, but eventually it worked out, and he showed, Pantoja showed his dominance in the end, and he's still riding it. And so we'll see tonight
Yeah.
how it goes.
How are you feeling about that?
Uh, Obviously I love Josh Van.
We are big Josh Van fans
He's
here.
he's not only as a fighter, is he special, but as a person, I've gotten to meet him and get to know him, and he's
Dustin said he was a good dude.
he's a real good dude, very, very relatable. Uh, is very humble and makes you want to do things for him. That's
Yeah.
how he comes about his business, and because he's so humble, I love that about him. That makes me want to pull for him, and I respect the hell out of Pantoja. The guy is a
He's a beast.
master at his craft. I'm pulling for Van. I really hope he gets it done. Uh, and then we can see that rematch between Royval and Van down the road.
Hell yeah. I know you gotta corner our buddy in a BJJ match tonight, so I only got one more question. I just wanted to move back for a second. We were talking about, you know, certain aspects essentially of fighters that you admire and respect, and then others that you don't necessarily align to. What is it like when you have to manage somebody that's exuding those characteristics that you don't agree with and you don't like? Do you do you just deal with that? Do you try to coach him out of it? What is that process like for you?
So I kind of it's a communication thing, right? So if you're a loudmouth, arrogant, you know, fighter that I
Mhm.
can't stand to deal with. Uh, I'll let you know, like, look, I don't agree with this, with the way that you're portraying yourself. I don't agree with how you're doing things. Uh, if you want to do that, that's totally fine. And maybe I'll say, hey, look, maybe I'm not the manager for you, and I'll step away. Even if he is a money
You're willing to do
guy,
that?
100%,
Okay.
because I'm not in it for the money. I have no interest in doing this business to make money. I'm doing this because I want to help guys that need my help. And if you're in this position where you're doing things that I don't agree with, and I let you know that, and you still continue to do it,
Mhm.
then I just simply say, look, it's maybe this isn't a good fit, right? And then you'll either say, okay, cool, deuces, and find somebody else, or you'll say, okay, maybe I'll change and listen to what you do because you're here to help me and guide me. Uh, so there, it's kind of like a crossroads. It's just like anything else. If I was your coach, and let's say you win all your fights by spinning back kicks and back
Yeah.
hooks, and that's your go-to move, and you don't know the basics, but you do that, and it's been successful,
Mhm.
right? And I say, look, you got to learn the basics. You got to learn the basics first, and then you can add on to it. And you say, you can either say, you know, this has worked for me. I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
I said, great. You continue. You're going to get exposed down the road
Yeah.
eventually. You continue. I'm going to let somebody else coach you. Or you can say, you're right. I should learn the fundamentals and the basics first and be good at it. I'm going to change because you asked me to.
Mhm.
Right. And that doesn't mean you have to limit what you want to do and who you are, but it just means you have to be, it's martial arts. You have to expand. And I'm trying to look out for you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're an arrogant asshole, cocky prick, maybe you're making a lot of money now, but in the long run, people aren't going to like you, and they're not going to respect you. And uh, having that persona may work temporarily, but long term, I don't think it works. So having that, if I'm telling you that's not a good way to go about business, telling you because I'm trying to look out for you long term.
Mhm.
And if you say screw you, that's cool. I'm not going to be upset with you. I wish you all the best, but maybe I'm not the guy for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think that the most important thing is just having that open communication with the client, and being upfront, and, not just saying, okay, if you do this, I'm gone. Say, hey, I don't agree with this. Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I'm sure I want to do this. Okay. It keeps continuing and it causes more issues, and you can see problems arising down the road. Then you bring it up and say, look, hey, I don't think this is right. I don't think you should be doing this. What do you think? I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool.
Misses.
Okay, you're right. I think I should stop, and I'm willing to listen. Cool. Let's continue, and let's do this route that I'm picking, to help you. And you know, I think if I was money based, I would sell my soul for that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you're a loudmouth, arrogant, prick, just shitting on people left and right, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm with you because you make a lot of money.
Mhm.
What does that say about me? I'm just following along, and I'm a leech,
Yeah.
right? So you got to be able to stand on your own principles, and if your intention is to help the person in the end, then what you choose and where they go usually works out. But because usually I'm not going to align myself with somebody like that, right? It's just not gonna. We're just not gonna mesh,
Mhm.
right? So from the beginning, it's not going to happen. We're not going to have that connection where I'm even going to say, hey, I want to represent you.
Yeah.
Right. But if I say I want to represent you, and you're the person who I think you are, and then you change into that, now I have a little bit of say. And I
Mhm.
can say, look, you changed a little bit. This isn't who you are. I don't think you should go this route. Let's try this way. You know what I mean? And now I have a little bit more pull, that you'll listen.
Mhm.
Uh, because I know who you really are, and I know, you know, this is why we were originally compatible together.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you started off flashy, I probably wouldn't even reach out to you. You know what I mean? Like,
You describe relationships with fighters as if it's almost like a relationship
it
in
really
life,
is. It,
like
it,
a
that's
part.
how
Yeah.
that's how I go about it. It's I'm willing to go on the sword for my guys. So, I'm willing to help them anyway, not just in fighting, but in life. And that's the way I took it, in coaching. That's the way everything is I've done in my career, my life has been, relationship based. And so if we have a relationship, I'm willing to do anything for you. If you look at me like a ATM, like I'm providing for you, and
Mhm.
you don't want anything to do with me, or I'm here for your goals. Do this, do this, do this, right? I can feel that, right? And so if that's the way you treat me, I don't want to have that relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a relationship where if I'm comfortable and we're mutual, understanding and helping each other, I'm gonna break through barriers. I'm gonna do everything I can for you. But if I think that you're using me, or I think like you don't respect my opinion or my advice, then why am I here? You need somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, I think relationships are number one when it comes to managers. If you don't have those relationships, then why are you with them? If you are with them, then it's monetary based,
Yeah.
and that is a transactional relationship. And I don't like transactional relationships. You know what I mean? Because those eventually dry out, and those aren't real.
Mhm.
And so I'm all about being real. I'm going to present to you honesty. I'm going to be honest with you, even if it hurts me. I'm going to be honest with you. And if it's a transactional relationship, as soon as that transaction stops, the ATM's closed,
Yeah.
right? Now that relationship's over with. And that was fake.
Yeah.
Look at Mike Tyson and what he talks about in his whole career is the leeches. And
Yep.
uh, you know, I don't want that. I'm not Don King. I'm not going to be Don King. I would never want to be that type of promoter or
Could see you with
agent.
the big gray hair maybe
Believe
though.
me,
Couple of years.
that is my biggest thing is having relationships, and then everything grows from relationships.
Heartfelt episode. Words of wisdom with Randy Caruso. Brother, I know we got a match to get to. I really appreciate the time today, my friend.
No, I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. I
Take care.
appreciate you.